Muchas gracias a todas y a todos por estar aquí. Esta ocasión tenemos el gran placer de recibir a una gran artista y matemática. Ella es Ingrid Carbone de Calabria y nos va a platicar sobre matemáticas más allá de la interpretación consciente, ¿no? Esta va a ser un concierto conversatorio. Eh, bueno, es importante decir que más allá de ser una gran matemática, Ingrid también es una gran pianista, ha ganado numerosos reconocimientos y pues es un gran honor que nos está acompañando. So now I will introduce you in English for all of our audience. So this occasion we have the great pleasure to have in this seminar to Ingrid Carbone that will talk us about mathematics beyond music for a conscious interpretation. And this will be not just a talk, but a concert and conversation. So this will be quite exciting. And it's important to say that besides to be a great mathematician, a great professor in Italy, she is also a concertist, a piano concertist, and she has won a lot of recognitions, international recognitions. So this is quite a honor to have her here in this space. So, Ingrid, the space is for you, and thank you for being here with us.
Okay, so thank you so much, Bruno, for this warm presentation. So, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear followers, I'm very happy to be here. I'm delighted to be here, and I want to express my thanks to all the organizers for inviting me and join this valuable project. I met Bruno, let me say, Bruno, that we met last year. It was in Spain, in Sevilla. It was July 2024 when we attended the European Congress of Mathematics, and we had the occasion to share our thoughts, to share our ideas. And you Bruno, told me about the project, and I told him what I'm doing with my music and the mathematics behind the music, and therefore here I am. Okay, let me start sharing my presentation. Okay, the title of this event reveals that that's a mixture of conference and music. Just a moment. Okay. How I divide this, let me call it lecture or conference, into four parts. In the first two parts, I will talk about music and the mathematics and the basic connections between them. And I will also talk about my personal experience, telling you how I discovered this way of sharing knowledge. And the second part, which is the main part of this lecture, is a true conversation concert. I will talk about and play. As you can see, I am near my piano. I am in my house. This is my music room. So I will show you some examples at the piano, and then you will listen to compositions one by the Italian composer Ruggero Leoncavallo, the other one by Schubert Liszt. Okay, let me go, if I can do that. I don't know why I cannot. Let me start with some common ideas about the connections between mathematics and music. Okay, first of all, I decided to list here four words that, according to me, show the common points between music and mathematics. I wrote patience, I wrote perseverance, discipline, and humility. Of course, I don't think that these four words are enough to describe all the common points between the study of music and the study of mathematics. The serious study of music and seriously studying mathematics. But of course, the group of these four is a necessary condition to study in a serious way mathematics and or music. About what they have in common, about the common knowledge we all have, even if we are not mathematicians and even if we are not musicians, is based on solfège. Solfège play a key role in music. It starts since the beginning. The study of solfège starts since the beginning, and without understanding solfège, we cannot study any kind of instrument. We cannot study piano or any other instrument because the rhythm is, of course, the base. Bass is the base on which is built music. I would like to give you one example, and even if the audience and the listeners are not all musicians, they can, I'm sure they can understand what I'm going to describe. So first of all, you can see that this picture is taken from the famous song Ave Maria by Franz Schubert. But in this case, you see Schubert list. This is one of the transcriptions that Liszt made of Schubert's Lieder. In fact, even if you see here 1 and 2, let me check this. Yeah, 2 and 3 pentagrams. Yeah, you can see the 3 of 3. This is not a score for piano and voice. This is the transcription. So this is a very advanced music in which the 2 hands, because we have only 2 hands, have to share the 3 lines. As you can see, in the central line there is the voice. You can see also here the lyrics here. Sorry, yeah, the lyrics here. Okay, think about this is a 1 bar. This is just 1 bar, and the measure of any bar is 1. This means that in this case we have a subdivision into 4 parts. This is the beginning of the, sorry, with this mouse is not very good. This is the first part. It starts the first part. Here starts the second part. Here it starts, sorry, here the third, and here the fourth. This means that this bar, the measure is divided into 4 parts. Each measure is 1/4. But as you can see, the upper line here is divided into 12 parts. And the lower line here is divided into 6 parts. Yeah, that's not a problem because the 12 is double, 2 times 6. But in the central line here, in this voice, we can see that even if you are not a musician, I can tell you this is, the value of this is 3/4, this. And the value of this one is, sorry, 3/8, and this is 1/8. The sum is, of course, 1/4. So as you can see, these drawings, the arrows, this is a copy of my scores. Yes, I had to count and try to understand where I can play this note and this note. And here in the second bit you see another subdivision here and another difficulty how to understanding where to write it. This is just a simple example. A simple, I mean, the music is not simple, but it shows that we have to be familiar some elementary mathematics, so let me say arithmetic. Okay, and now I would like to talk and to read with you and for you some quotes from taken from a wonderful book, Musicophilia, Tales of Music and the Brain by Oliver Sacks. If you never read this book, I suggest you to do this because it's really open new perspectives. Oliver Sacks, we know he was a very famous neurologist, writer, and he was using music therapy in his, with his patients, and was a pioneer in exploring the connection between music and the brain, and was a pianist. He was not a professional pianist, but he was a pianist. Here I mention also Awakenings, just one of his books from which a famous movie has been taken. Okay, the first quote is this: there is no doubt that regular exposure to and especially active participation in music can stimulate the development of many different areas of the brain, areas that must cooperate when the subject is engaged in musical listening or performance. In the vast majority of cases, music can have the same pedagogical importance as reading or writing. And Takako Fujioka and her colleagues, using magnetoencephalography to examine auditory evoked potentials in the brain, recorded evident changes in the left hemisphere of children who had studied violin for a year, compared to peers who had received no instruction. Let me go further. Using 5-finger exercise as a test, he demonstrated that the motor cortex can undergo changes within minutes of beginning the exercise. And another very interesting fact, regional cerebral blood flow measurements in various parts of the brain have shown in the basal ganglia, cerebellum, and various areas of the cerebral cortex an increase in activity associated not only with the physical exercise performed, but also with the mere mental exercise. And here it comes, the last one. When I read it, I was really surprised. Anatomists today would be hard put to identify the brain of a visual artist, a writer, or a mathematician, but they would recognize the brain of a professional musician without a moment's hesitation. It was really a surprise for me. It was another surprise when surfing internet, I checked Oliver Sacks Foundation website, and on the page dedicated on musicophilia, the only quote you find in the website, Oliver Sacks Foundation website, is exactly the one I read before, the one which says that the only brain we can understand and recognize is the brain of a musician. And you can see here on the right that Oliver Sacks here studying Bach. Okay, so let me go now in the second part, in which I would like to tell you about my personal experience and my witness of how music and mathematics are joined. Until 2019, I didn't realize how important was my mathematics for my music. I quite perceived that my mathematics was an obstacle to my artistic career. But in 2019, I went to China for a tour, about 3 weeks in spring. I was invited to give lectures for piano teachers. I went to many cities, and one of the places where I went was Wuhan. And I was asked to prepare PPT and also to give examples at the piano. I was very worried because I was never asked to do that, and I didn't know if I could do in the best way. Anyways, when I started preparing the presentation and the examples at the piano and also performances, I realized that what was scaring me so much was actually very simple to me. So I understood that even if I was not asked to give lectures about mathematics and music, I understood that my mathematics background and also my duties at university were helping a lot my artistic work. In fact, when I came back and when I went home, one recital was scheduled. It was June, I remember very well, June 2019, and then I decided to shift and to move. Instead of a recital, I gave a lecture recital. I prefer to call it a conversation concert. Why? Well, let me say, first of all, what I don't do during my conversation concerts. I don't do a lecture for mathematicians only, because I don't talk about uh, mathematical equations behind the vibration of a string, or I don't study the pitch of the notes. But as well, I don't give lecture for musicians only, because I'm not interested in describing the structure of music, the harmony of the music. At the same time, I'm not a musicologist. So my presentation is not a musicological presentation. Musicologists very often are not musicians, are not performers. So they describe the composition the performer is going to play, but they don't do that. And generally they describe like a story, the story of the composition. What I try to do with this event, with the conversation concert, is to reach a very wide audience. And what I try to do, and I will explain, in fact, because I will do that at the piano, is to take the audience by hands, and in my world, in my procedure, in the procedure of study, of research which I followed during a month and month of study. This way, I give the audience some key elements, some key tools, but I give at the piano, playing the piano, that can help them listening in a more conscious way the composition I will perform at the end. Think about painting. We can be, of course, moved by a painting, and without knowing anything about painting. But if we are, for instance, in a museum and we have a guide and he's describing us any part, all the parts of the painting, the history behind what the painter wanted to communicate with that painting, of course we understand better and we appreciate more the painting. Going in the direction of mathematics and music, let me say something about a parallel between theorem and composition. Okay, as a mathematician, I can say that a theorem and its proof must be perfect. I mean that when we look at the theorem and we look at the proof, any word, any equation, any symbol, everything is essential in the proof of the theorem. For better understanding a theorem, we have to know what's behind the theorem. We have to know the history. I mean, we need a background in that subject, and very often, for better understanding the proof of a theorem, we have to enlarge our knowledge, and we have because, for instance, a proof needs some tool we didn't know before. This is exactly as I see a composition. I'm not a composer, I'm a player, piano player, concert player, pianist. For me, a composition is like a theorem. I mean that for me, any note, any sign, any line, any word, any sign of silence has a meaning. Everything is essential, and I can say that I'm ready to play a composition only when I fully understand the composition. And to fully understand the composition, I use the same mindset, the same procedure I use when I try to understand a theorem or a theory. I needed to know the background, I needed to go to know history, I needed to know the music of that period. And this way, the mathematical background, and not only mathematical background, but also the experience with teaching, with the conferences, which give me a very easy way of communication. And this way I wear new spectacles and I can see beyond the scores. And in this way I can reach a freedom in my interpretation. If you think that this mathematical approach could limit the freedom of interpretation, you are wrong, because with a full understanding of the scores and what's beyond the scores, I try to find the best expression, the best interpretation, a conscious interpretation. Okay, and now we are ready with the conversation concept. I will talk about a Spanish album by Ruggero Leoncavallo. Ruggero Leoncavallo, and here I don't need to share because I need to go to my piano. Okay, I move here because I have to talk something and I have to play. Okay, Ruggero Leoncavallo is an Italian composer who is all known only was known only for one opera, Pagliacci, but he wrote many piano compositions. I'm sorry, but I have to show you one slide more because I forgot to tell you exactly how the Spanish album is made. Yes, the Spanish album is made by 4 compositions. And in these compositions, Leoncavallo put the sound, the everyday life of Spain he knew very well. He wrote, I told you, many piano compositions, and I put here just one of my album because I recorded these compositions, 36 compositions in a double album. So I will talk about the 4 compositions, but due to a lack of time, of course, I can let you listen just the last one. But you can listen to the other ones on Spotify, wherever you want. Okay, let me talk about these compositions. But first, let me tell you which are the main features in the music of Spanish music. Okay, so first of all, flamenco. We have flamenco, we have the dancer, the body. She has hands, she claps hands, she uses castanets, and she uses the shoes with tiptoe movement. We have tango, we have coming from Argentina, but we have tango in Spanish music, we have habanera, we have Arabic influences, we have Tzigane music. All of these features are contained in the music by Ruggero Leoncavallo. What else? While listening a dancer, watching a dancer, we also listen to music. We have guitar music, of course, but we also have clapping hands, and very often we have a multiple clapping hands. So hands clapping in alternative way. And we also have a voice, a male voice, which is not a speech, it's not a song, it's mainly like, it's like a dramatic narrative voice. All these features are contained in these compositions. And one more feature, which is properly not a dancing feature, a music feature, is corrida, a bullfight. Bullfight is accompanied by music, which gives us a drama, the sense of drama, an idea of tension. And in this composition, the last composition, you will listen to them. I give you just some example because I see that the times is going over, and I don't want to go to be over time. Okay, so just think about guitar. Okay, so for instance, in Playeras Anciennes, you can listen. Of course, that's guitar, but in Gitano tango, we can listen, for instance, the beginning as a tango. And the left hand is doing something which remind us the guitar, but also castanets. It reminds me the movement made by the shoes. But we also have habanera. We can think about Bizet, Carmen, but that's not the case because the melody is totally different. Or we have clapping hands, like the beginning of Sevillana. Or in the center of the composition, like this. So clapping hands, guitar, castanets, and in Granadinas, you are going to listen in a few moments, the tension is perceived since the beginning. And in the introduction, we can also listen clapping hands, clapping in an alternative way, like this. But also we can listen Arabic influences, like this. composition shift to a waltz with Arabic and Spanish atmosphere. But this waltz starts with the tension but relaxes and ends with a piece like this. Okay, now it's time to listen to Granadinas. Can you share the YouTube video, please? Okay, and now we are ready to talk about the second composition, Schubert List, Die junge Nonne. Um, Franz Schubert was a master in writing lieder. He wrote more than 600 lieder. Franz Liszt was a master in with transcriptions. He made extraordinary transcriptions of many lieder by Franz Schubert. Ave Maria, we've seen before, belongs to this group of 12. You can see 12 lieder von Franz Schubert is the last one. Today I would like to introduce the listening of Die junge Nonne, the sixth of this 12 lieder, which was composed in 1825, and the Liszt transcription was made a few years later. Okay, I will describe the story of this nun. The translation in English is the young nun, giving you the key elements to listen after the composition. Okay, I don't need the sharing the slide now, and I move here. Okay, this story, the composition is divided into 5 parts. The first part is a ritornello, and then we have 4 stanzas. The singing voice arrives in the first stanza. A ritornello is without song. In this ritornello, refrain. Sorry if I use Italian words, but tempo indication and agogic indication, dynamical indications are written in Italian, so I'm used to not to translate them in other language. Okay, so in this ritornello we find the 3 characteristic and feature, the 3 features, the 3 key elements of all the composition we will find since the first bar to the last bar. The first element is tremolo. It's a tremolo in F minor, which gives us the sense of drama. This tremolo here is played by the right hand in the central part of the keyboard. It will stay always here. Since the first bar to the last bar of the composition, we will have tremolo. The second element is a motif played by the left hand with octaves, is this one. It's like a rush, upwards rush. The meaning of this part of this motive will be clear in a few moments, because in the first stanza the singer will take and will use this part of this motive. And the third element is the bell. Of course, we are talking about nun, then we need bells throughout the composition. Here in the ritornello, the bell sounds like this. But throughout the composition, whenever you will listen a single note or sometimes octave, single, and in the high register, they will represent bells. Okay, so together, the left and right hand, the composition and the ritornello starts this way. hands because the melody has to be played with the hand, the most suitable hand. Okay, and now after ritornello, it starts the story. This is a story of the inner struggle of the nun and the faith against the earthly temptations. And the composition is divided exactly into two parts. The first two stanzas are dramatic stanzas with a drama which is increasing from the first stanza to the second one, while this third and the fourth, in the third and the fourth, the atmosphere changes completely. This motive, will be taken and used by the singing voice, but it moves in the center part in the center register, and give us a sense of anguish, a sense of distress. The words, the translation, the lyrics as are in German, of course, but if we think about the translation, the words are how is roaring the storm. And so this roaring storm, the effect of roaring storm is like this. So you can listen this crescendo and also the tension we have here. And here there is the exclamation, is the storm. And you will hear 3 times this structure. This is the first one, you will listen a second and the third one. The rhythm is exactly the same. The notes are different, but it's a crescendo of drama. The last part, the final part of each of these 3 phrases ends with an exclamation. So it's the roaring storm, is the house is trembling, and she says that the lightning is flashing. And after this, the nun seems to have lost any hope. And you will listen repeated notes. Always in music, repeated notes have a deep meaning. When she says the night is dark, dark as the grave. 2 times. Seems to faint. The music is like a whisper. But the end of the first stanza reveals a positive atmosphere because it moves from minor mode to the major mode. Like a sparkling of joy, like a hope. But it's a very short moment because the drama who is experimenting the nun is too strong, and in fact we will hear similar music, similar rhythmic structure, but with more drama, with more anguish. The phrases, the three phrases, are very similar because the exclamation is again on the roaring storm, on the trembling house, on the lightning flashing. But the music become complex, more complex and more dramatic, like this. And you will listen again 3 times until the nun again seems to have lost any hope. But this time is more dramatic because now she says, "My breast is dark, dark as the grave." Again with the same repeated notes we heard in the first stanza, but with a tremolo that becomes more rich and more complex. And now the second stanza again ends with less than a whisper, less than a whisper. The marking sign is estinto, extinct. But now the end of the second stanza is a passage is the path between the darkness to the light. The nun is the struggle of the nun gives the nun a reward, because now she won. And in fact the marking is con esaltazione, with exaltation, because she at last succeeded. So it's like this. There is joy, there is happiness. The nun, this is the victory of the darkness of the light on the darkness. And in this section, this is the third stanza, we can hear also that peace is coming. It's the nun. The nun says, "In my heart is peace, in my heart is calm." And among all of this exaltation, the nun starts to feel a sense of love for God. In fact, the third stanza ends and represents a passage between the exaltation and ardore. Is written ardentemente, so it's passionately. And this passion here is given by repeated notes. But these notes, the repetition of these notes is the opposite meaning of the repeated notes we heard in the first and the second stanza, because it's like a caress. And she says, "Come, heavenly bridegroom, your bride is here." So the atmosphere is relaxed. There is peace, there is calm, but it comes just a moment of fear. The nun perceives that something is not so clear for her, and she says, uh, release my soul from my earthly prison. But this is a very short moment, because we can read on the lyrics and we can hear the word listen. Listen the bells, and this means that this fear is over, and we heard bells and blessing. And now, till the end, we will feel calm and peace, and at last the nun is able to pray God and to say Alleluia. She prays God 2 times. This is the first one. And after she prays God 2 times, she falls asleep in peace. In fact, the marking is quasi niente, almost nothing, is, according to me, is the nun who is falling asleep in peace. Okay, so now enjoy the listening. So that's all. This is the end of the talk. Sorry if I couldn't stay in the scheduled time. Sorry for the delay. And thanks to all the listeners. Thanks again to the organizers. Thanks to Bruno. Thanks to the followers. Thanks to all of you. Thanks. Many thanks. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ingrid. It was such a nice presentation. It was very nice listening to you, to your music, to your thoughts about your music. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we have several comments and greetings and congratulations in the comments in
Oh,
Facebook. Let me read you one of the questions that I
yes.
see here.
Because
Karina Islas says, I would love to hear more about one of your first comments on humility. Was it about being humble when listening to music, just as we are when reading proofs?
yeah. What I maybe humble could be a better choice. But anyways, my meaning was that we have to be aware that we never know enough. This is my point of view. Because we always need to learn more. It's the same in mathematics, it's the same in music, maybe in music more, because the same composition in music, uh, played 1 year later, 2 years later, 10 years later, becomes different. So never stop and never saying, yes, I know everything. No, we cannot do that. We have to have the humility and to say, I don't know enough. This is my point of view. I think that without this attitude, uh, we cannot study seriously any kind of matter, any kind of subject, mainly music, because we have always to something to learn, not only from others, because we learn from others when we are students, but it also at an advanced stage we can learn from ourselves, we can learn from our mistake. This was the sense of that word. I don't know if this is the answer the follower was waiting for, or
Well, I don't see any more questions in the Facebook comments, but you have several like comments, not questions, but comments. Some of them in Italian that I cannot see if there is a question really, but you can check them out later.
oh
If
yeah, but if you read Italian for me, I can understand. If you
don't you worry, there are like several congratulations. Mm, oh, this one is in Spanish. Cuando la matemática e la musica si incontrano, si raggiungono risultati sorprendenti. Quando la matematica e la musica si incontrano, si raggiungono risultati sorprendenti. And several questions in that way. Congratulations, very interesting, professional, and beautiful. And several questions in that way. Take your time to read them.
now now there is
It's
no
okay.
my Facebook. Okay,
No,
so
it's okay.
I promise I will check all the comments, and of course I just thank all the comments the comments you read. Yes, the congratulations. Yes, thanks. But I will read all of them carefully, and each of them on your page and also on my page, because I share the video on my page. Um,
Well,
yes.
thank you very much. I think we will close the broadcast en Facebook. Así que esta fue nuestra última charla de este semestre. Regresaremos el próximo semestre, como a partir de septiembre. con un nuevo ciclo de conferencias en este mismo sentido. Entonces, muchas gracias por acompañarnos y estén al pendiente a partir de septiembre para ver cuándo retomaremos estas sesiones. So thank you very much again, Ingrid Carbone from University of Calabria in Italy, and
Yeah.
see you next time. Thank you very
Thank,
much.
thanks to again to all of you for your patience with the tools, with Zoom, with and for above all for this kind invitation. Really, I'm very happy to be part of your team in some sense. Thank you very much, and thanks to all the followers, of course. Thanks a lot.